Hey everyone. So in today's video, we're kind of continuing on with our lesson from last week or whenever we did autobiographies and biographies. Now, we also talked a little bit about memoirs in that, well, you just looked through the notes, but I wanted to go a little bit more in detail about memoirs and essentially autobiographies. So just first off, a memoir, again, is a non-fictional form of literature that portrays fragments of the author's life and experiences. Now, a fun fact about this is the word memoir comes from the French word, I'm not going to butcher that, but it comes from that French word or this Latin word, both of which mean memory or remembrance. So when you're reading a memoir, you're diving into someone's memories. So in thinking about a memoir, and it is an autobiography essentially, okay? But remembering an autobiography is a factual account that typically tells the story of the author's entire life, while a memoir is when an author writes about a special memory from a specific time in their life or shares things that happened in their life based on a common theme. So just thinking about this term right here, autobiography, right? Bio, because we also have biography, right? Bio means life. Graph means write. So writing about one's life or writing about a person's life. Okay. However, when you add, that's what a biography would be, write about a person's life. But when you add the auto in the front, it is self. Remember, our prefix auto means self. So writing about your own life. Now, in other words, they are both nonfiction, but an autobiography typically covers a person's entire life in a chronological order, whereas a memoir zooms in on a specific period or theme of someone's life. This is why we are more apt or able to look at memoirs, or I want us more interested in looking at memoirs right now, as opposed to autobiographies, because we're really not going to pull off an autobiography because they're pages, they're hundreds of pages because it's an entire life. So that's why we're looking at memoirs. So memoirs are a personal reflection. So the author is looking back at their life and trying to understand what has happened to them, just like they would in an autobiography. It's just a shorter part. Why would we write a memoir? So the author is giving advice or sharing lessons they've learned from their own life to help others. And the other reason why we would write a memoir is the author's is through their own eyes is showing the reader what life was like in the past or how things have changed. Because when you write a memoir, if you wrote a memoir of today, if you wrote a memoir from 5 years ago, it's going to encapsulate that period of time. And so people 30 years from now, 50 years from now, 200 years from now can look back and understand what it was like to live during this time. And finally, it can be entertaining. I think memoirs can be more entertaining than autobiographies because autobiographies, again, are a lot longer, whereas the memoir is very short and to the point. So the author is providing entertainment for the reader with funny or dramatic stories from their life. I also think that memoirs are more interesting a lot of times than biographies, just because the person writing them adds that humor, adds that drama that they had in living their life. So what makes a memoir? It's narrative. It's like you're telling a story. Unlike straight autobiography, memoirs often have a beginning, a middle, and an end because it's so much shorter. It's like a short story. Rich and vivid details bring the story alive, making readers feel as though they're living the experiences with the writer because it's such a short period of time. So here's just an example from Tara Westover's Educated. I'm standing on the red railway car that sits abandoned next to the barn. The wind soars, whipping my hair across my face and pushing a chill down the open neck of my shirt. The gales are strong this close to the mountain, as if the peak itself is exhaling. Down below, the valley is peaceful, undisturbed. Meanwhile, our farm dances. The heavy conifer trees sway slowly, while the sagebrush and thistles quiver, bowing before every puff and pocket of air. Behind me, a gentle hill slopes upward and stitches itself in the mountain base. If I look up, I can see the dark form of the Indian princess. So it's much shorter, but it's very detailed. The second thing that makes it is it gives a personal voice. So the story is told from the author's unique perspective, often infused with their emotions, opinions, and personality. So here's the same example. I'm not going to read this one because it's much longer if you just want to pause and read this, but you'll see that personal voice in this one. And then our final characteristic, it goes beyond just recounting events by delving deeply into the meaning, lessons, and significance of those events. So unlike an autobiography, it will create a theme. So it's a personal narrative in the sense that the narration makes it have a lesson that you are learning like you would in fictional writing, but it's not fictional, it's real. So again, I'm not going to read this again for the sake of time in this video. You can go ahead and pause it and read it, but you should be able to see a theme here from Michelle Obama's writing. Now, we have our own practice with memoirs that we're going to go through. Hopefully we'll get through some of it today and finish the rest of it next week. That practice looks like this. There are 3 memoirs here. First is A Girl Named Jack. Go through and follow these instructions as you read this memoir. A second is Why Not Me by Mindy Kaling. So go ahead and read that one. You can see it's not too long, and then answer those questions. And then the final one is The Jacket by Gary Soto. This is one of my favorite memoirs. I love this one, and it's a little bit longer, but it's worth the little bit longer read. So if anything, I would love if we could get through the first 2 today and maybe the third one next week or whenever we do this. Like the first 2 on the day that you get this assigned, and then the next one at the next time we meet. So you may work with a partner on these. I'm actually encouraging it because I really want to encourage discussion about sensory details. I really want to encourage conversation about and collaboration about moments where the author reflects on events and shares inner feelings. I want you to talk about your possible personal connection to this or how you felt about it. I just want us talking about memoirs because we also are going to be reading a short story called Charles, and that perspective is a fictional story, but the perspectives are similar in the sense that they're both looking at how perspective affects us and affects writing. Okay. As always, guys, thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.